What's up, Wall fans? Welcome to another very exciting video feed for Common Sense Sundays. And as you can tell from my very extravagant headwear, if you are watching the video feed, this is serving as our annual Halloween episode. So we got a lot of cool Halloween-themed stuff thrown in with our usual topics and whatnot. So all that being said, let's get right into episode 118.
Who 1, 2, 3, go tell it to the wall. Tell it to the wall. Go tell it to the wall. Tell it to the wall.
All right, Wall fans, Common Sensors podcast consumers, welcome to another very exciting edition of Common Sense Sundays with Go Tell It to the Wall, hosted by me, your absolute favorite podcast host, the one and only Sean O'Rourke. And before I explain the strange thing that is on my head right now, for those of you that are watching the video feed, and for those of you longtime listeners, it's probably not very strange. But let's get through our social plugs before we talk about that stuff. You can keep up with us before episodes, after episodes, during episodes, whenever you so please, and you can do that in multiple locations. One of those would be facebook.com/GoTellItToTheWall. That's right, facebook.com/GoTellItToTheWall. That is our official Facebook page. You're going to get all information on new episodes, breaks, and hiatuses, and winter, all that kind of good stuff right there on Facebook. So make sure you like our page if you are a Facebook user. And then, of course, we have our YouTube channel, youtube.com/GoTellItToTheWall, or at Go Tell It to the Wall right there on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. Check out all of our videos that get posted up there. It's more than just the video feeds. It's all kinds of other clips and album reviews and Mental Health Monday videos and all that great stuff. So make sure you are checking that out if you're a YouTube user. And, of course, my own personal Instagram account, which is at SoCalSean, SoCalSean, at SoCalSean, right there on Instagram. All kinds of great photo content that comes out through there. Not all of it related to Go Tell It to the Wall, but nonetheless, there is a lot of great photo content on there. If you're an Instagram user, go ahead and give us a follow on there. And, of course, don't forget about our website, SeanO'RourkeLive.com. That's right, SeanO'RourkeLive.com. That is your one-stop shop for anything and everything that is Go Tell It to the Wall, Common Sense Sundays, Mental Health Mondays, parenting, all kinds of great stuff. And it's also going to give you links to those social platforms I just mentioned, as well as exclusive content that doesn't get posted anywhere except on our website. And then you're also going to find on that website, if you want to help us out financially, you can do that in multiple ways. One of those would be through our Patreon campaign. That is something you can link directly from our website and help us out financially. And if you don't want to use Patreon, you can help us out financially by picking up some Common Sense merch. Our merch website links directly from SeanO'RourkeLive.com, so make sure you're checking those out. All right, fair warning. For those of you that have been listeners for years, especially the past 3 years, you already know this. I mention it a little bit here and there. This is the November gauntlet that we're getting into. Obviously, not quite there yet, but starting this weekend. So make sure you are checking back on Facebook and the website and everything else, because we will have schedule changes and all kinds of stuff going on, because November is crazy in my house. It just is, starting with what is Punk in the Park this coming weekend, and we'll talk more about that when we get into some entertainment news. But just keep those things in mind. And then, of course, the reason I am wearing this ridiculous, not just headwear, it looks like headwear, but it's my custom-made Muppet animal hoodie, because this is serving as our annual Halloween special. For those of you that haven't experienced one of these before, we talk about our usual topics and all that good stuff, but we also throw in some Halloween-themed things along with it. And I, of course, sit in here and sweat like crazy with this very large, warm animal hood over my head. It's not going to stay there through the whole episode. So, and for those of you that aren't watching the video feed, it's worth going and checking out the first couple minutes if you've never seen my ridiculous go-to Halloween costume. It's actually always hanging on the door behind me, and it comes out the month of October when I need to throw together a Halloween costume, because I'm always very late to the game on that. And in fact, I tried to find a last-minute costume on Saturday at a party to go to, and Target was completely sold out of adult costumes. I managed to get a costume for the dog, but nothing for myself. Luckily, like I said, I have this ridiculous hoodie as backup, and I bust it out every October and other times in between, but it is definitely my go-to Halloween costume, being the Muppet-obsessed person that I am. All right. Now that we're done with that opening, I got to get some water here. This hood is not staying on much longer. It's very warm, and it's funny. I know I talked about fall weather. We're actually in this part of fall, and I know other places around the country get this part of fall where You wake up in the morning and you're like, I need a jacket or a sweatshirt or a beanie. I saw people wearing beanies this morning on my walk to school with the kiddo. But then by the time afternoon rolls around, it's like 85. And so you're stripping everything off. And then night rolls around, the sun goes down, and it's back to like hoodie weather. And that's kind of what we get here in Southern California for this time of year until we fully get into like fall and everything else. So it's always too warm for me to be wearing this ridiculous hoodie. But these are the things I do. I think I'm getting some static back here too. I should like rub and then get all crazy furry. I haven't really paid much attention to this thing until a few days ago. That's always how it is. All right, digital trends. Let's see if I can make it through digital trends with this. I'm literally, no, that's not what I'm looking for. I am literally like shedding hair here, which is kind of ridiculous because I shed my own purple hair, but now I'm shedding animal type hair from this hoodie, and it's like on my monitor here, which is an interesting way to go. All right, there we go. Fixing that up a little bit. I don't know what my computer's doing here. All right, scooped bagels and New York. I have to be honest. You might have seen this going around the socials recently. I had to look up what a scooped bagel is, but apparently of course it's some TikTok guy who went to New York and was requesting a scooped bagel or gluten-free or something along those lines and posted a video about it, and then all New Yorkers ran with it, and apparently we can't get away with Los Angeles and New York not feuding about something. Like, we can't go more than a month with that. And New Yorkers lost their minds. Like, there are so many people posting. I had to look up what the hell a scooped bagel is. It is not for me, but honestly, if you want to have a scooped bagel, have at it, you know? Just get you a scoop bagel, and they actually scoop out a bunch of the bread inside, so it's like lower calorie, okay? So that's fine if somebody wants that. And if New York, if you don't want to do that, that's fine too. We don't need to have a whole back and forth about what's correct and all this other stuff. Who cares? But of course, it turns into a big thing. I will say, I saw a lot of people saying, and these are, I don't want to say prominent, but they're people that pop up randomly in my Twitter feeds and stuff, and they're like, oh, people always tell me to move to California, and this is why I won't move to California. Apparently, they're that offended by a certain type of bagel. What I will say is, while I wouldn't want my bagel to be scooped, as they call it, if it keeps people from moving to Los Angeles, I will take trips to New York and order scooped bagels all around that city because we got enough fucking people here in Los Angeles. So please keep your bagels over there. It's fine. We do have regular bagels here. I got one down the street. It's fantastic bagels. You don't have to have it scooped or whatever this stuff is. You can still get a normal bagel. But yeah, we got enough people in LA. So if you're second guessing it, just stay there. It's all good. Help some of my friends buy houses by not overpopulating the hell out of the city. I've been here long enough. I can say it. Really been here like the majority of my life anyway. All right, another thing that I've noticed, and this is like an ongoing trend, but I saw one recently, and this is famous people like working hospitality. You know, you always see, and granted, I know there's funny things, like I'm not going to get on Ben Affleck for shooting a commercial for Dunkin' Donuts where he's like at the drive-thru or whatever. That's kind of iconic. He's known in Boston. He's a Boston guy. It's more of like you see a famous wealthy person working the checkout and they think it's funny and it's a photo opportunity. Well, one of these came up over the past week. I don't even know who it was. I didn't even go back to look at the name. It is some famous young lady. I don't know if she's a singer, actress, whatever. I'm not plugged in enough on all of the young actors and musicians and artists and whatnot. But it was clearly like, it was very condescending. And she's smiling and she's like posing for cameras and everything. And I guess people think it's cute. But whenever I see this, I just think it's condescending to people that work in hospitality. It's insulting. It's like, oh, look at me. I can, and we're not talking about like learning about farm animals or something. We're talking, just for a photo opportunity. Knock it off. Okay? Those are skilled workers as well. They don't need you coming in and having a photo opportunity and getting in the way of the register and pretending to check stuff out and making funny faces. And it was really ridiculous seeing this. And I'm getting real tired of that trend because I do see it quite often. And there's just no reason to do that. Just, go to the store, do your shop, and leave. Not everything has to be an opportunity for content and photos and all this other BS. So knock it off, famous people. All right, red flag warnings. This is trending a lot right now on the digital platforms in really all of California. Started in Northern California. Now it's moved down to Southern California. For those of you not aware of red flag warnings, we've officially reached fire season here. if it's really probably internationally known, but definitely if you live in the U.S., you know that California gets a lot of wildfires, and this is kind of the beginning. And a part of that is the dry conditions and the high winds. And Santa Ana winds are high winds; they go a certain direction, and this is the time of year for it. So we've had red flag warnings pop up, and in fact, we've had a couple brush fires that have popped up already since the red flag warning was issued. And in fact, right before I came in the studio, I saw Riverside has some evacuations right now. So be diligent if you do live in those kinds of areas. And honestly, fuck your fireworks. People love shooting off fireworks all around Los Angeles. This is not the time to do it. Fuck that. Don't be causing fires. Go, put the fireworks away. You shouldn't have them at all, but especially when there's a red flag warning, don't be burning fires outside. Just be diligent and smart and use common sense, because we don't want brush fires. It's not good for the environment. People lose homes. So don't add to that red flag warning. But of course, that is just all over the socials here in California at the moment. All right, hashtag Apple event. Hashtag Apple event. Yeah, this just started trending today. Apparently, Apple kind of came in with a surprise announcement event, and it's funny. All of them do it now. I feel like, and don't quote me on this, I feel like Apple was the first to do these big events where they would announce things like the iPod and the iPhone. And then Microsoft started doing it, and they're like, look at this new Surface. And then, of course, Google does it now. I get it to an extent. It cracks me up the people that are really obsessed with Apple, and they like drop all that they're doing just so they can see these announcements. I'm an Android guy. I'm a Google guy. In fact, I got my new Pixel Pro 8 just shipped today. But I don't take the time to watch the events. It's like not that meaningful. I catch it afterward. And they just had one recently, which is funny. So I don't know why we're kind of doing another Apple event. And it's funny, as I was prepping this show, it was trending, and they're saying, oh, tune in on Twitter and blah, 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 blah to see the event. Didn't really know what it was, but it was supposed to be at 5 p.m. So 5 p.m. rolled around, and now we're at like 5:30. And so I just took a quick glance, and it looks like it's computer chips. New computer chips, and I'm sure they're great. I always joke about like the Apple obsession. If you're into Apple, that's fine. Use what you like. I happen to like PCs and Androids. That's just me. If you like MacBooks and iPhones and iWatches, that's fine too. Have at it. Go nuts. Get all the Apple products. It's just a preference thing. All right, this digital trend is I think this one has just started, because I just started seeing it over the past couple days. And, all right, hood's coming off. Let me adjust my headphones here, too. Man, it's too hot to be wearing a really furry hoodie in the studio right now. And I don't want to crank up the air because my kid's going to be, like, freezing. All right, there we go, wall fans. I got to adjust my headphones here. I've got, like, animal fur all over my headphones and stuff. Oh yeah, that's great. That looks good. Don't mind the person in the video if you're watching the video feed. I'm just adjusting everything here and making myself more comfortable. And then there's more hoodie hair on my monitor now. It's fun. I can tell it's not my hair because it's like red and pink instead of purple. So like that's animal hair. Anyway, this just recently, and I don't want to get into details and semantics. In fact, we're going to talk a little bit more about it with our next topic, but people are calling for boycotts of certain companies and QSRs, quick serve restaurants. One of those is Starbucks, and this is obviously over the conflict that is going on in Israel and Palestine right now. And so people have called for that boycott. And you know what? That's fine. You want to boycott things? Boycott things. Do that. However, there's a new trend happening, and it's funny because people are filming themselves doing this stupid shit. They go to the Starbucks drive-thru, they order some drinks, pull up to the window, and then without paying or getting their drinks, they just drive off. And they think this is a way of protesting where Starbucks has thrown their support. Here's just a quick little reminder. This is not affecting the Starbucks corporation at all. All you're doing is making things more difficult on people that work in hospitality at Starbucks. They're having to make these drinks. They're having to explain why all these drinks were ordered and not paid for and everything else. And now, granted, I had friends that work for Starbucks. I'm fully aware of the actual cost of one of those frappuccinos or whatever. It don't cost them $10 to make that thing. Trust me. But really, all you're doing is making things more difficult for people that are just trying to make a living. They don't have anything to do with what corporate Starbucks does. They're just there doing their job. So if you see this happening, call it out. If you're doing stuff like this, knock it off. I mean, this is really common sense. You know, it's just like the people who burned their Nikes and everything. It's like, Nike thanks you. You already gave them money. Do you think they care what you fucking do with it? No. If you want to boycott Starbucks, don't even go there. You know, if you want to go real far, go set up a picket line outside of Starbucks. Don't harass the employees of Starbucks who are just doing their job. And don't come back at me with like, oh, just doing their job. No, they're making coffee. We're not talking about police officers and military just doing their job like you could argue certain things. No, they're making you coffee. And you're upset because you can't get your fancy coffee because everyone's calling for a boycott of it. Don't act like that. All right. Hashtag ceasefire. I've mentioned it the past couple episodes. I'm not talking about it. I'm not educated enough to speak on that topic. I admit, I wouldn't say I'm completely ignorant. There are certain things about it that I understand. However, I don't know the history of it well enough to actually talk about the politics and the struggle and over land and everything else. But what I can say is a ceasefire is just common sense as far as I'm concerned. In fact, the Pope has called for a ceasefire. The United Nations has called for a ceasefire because regardless of where you fall, which side you fall on in this particular instance, people are dying. Children are dying. I understand that this is a conflict, and I understand that each side thinks they are right. However, there's never an excuse for war and killing and everything else. I'm of the age where we were just in wars my entire life. We still are. You know, I was in college for 9/11. I remember the craziness that spawned from that and the racism that spawned from that. I had a couple friends. I mean, I'm not really in touch with them anymore, but at the time I had friends who were Middle Eastern and were dealing with that harassment on a daily basis. Stopping violence is always important. So regardless of where you fall, I'm not telling you what you should think of this. What I'm telling you is you should support a ceasefire so that children stop dying. That's the important thing. All right, and that brings us right into mental health. First of all, turn off the damn news for a little while. You can, you do the doom scrolling and everything else. I always talk about this. Turn off the damn news. That's enough of that. I'm all for being informed, but you don't want to put yourself into depression. That's the important thing. But I do want to talk about a big national story. I'm sure it reached international status as well that started kind of last week. And forgive me, I can't remember the exact day. Everything just blends together this time of year for me because I'm so busy with working 5 different jobs and everything else. But there was, unfortunately, a mass shooting in Maine, in Lewiston, Maine. A military reservist, I'm not even going to use his name, he doesn't deserve that, went on a shooting spree and killed 18 people, injured another 13 people. And the reason I bring this up in mental health is we often talk about this with mass violence and mass shootings, and a lot of people like to immediately go to mental illness and blame mental illness. So I want to once again remind everyone that if you look at the history of mass shootings, the majority of them, more than the majority of them, do not have anything to do with mental illness. Now, that being said, what we are hearing is this most likely is a case where mental illness played a large part in it. And so I want to unpack that a little bit. Because what happens is, I understand we need to know the facts. And clearly, this man was troubled, had some problems, and there's varying degrees of mental illness. And I'm not an expert, not a doctor. It sounds like he might have had some schizophrenia, which is very serious, and you do need treatment for that. I mean, you should treat every mental illness the way that's best for you, but that is something that is definitely on the more serious end of the mental illness spectrum. So I always bring this up because I don't want people to be discouraged from getting help. It adds to the stigma. It adds to the stigma every time when it doesn't end up being a mental illness, but it also adds to the stigma when it comes out that there was a problem with mental illness. So don't let that perpetuate the stigma. We've worked so hard over many, many years to diminish that stigma and give people support and talk openly about it. We can't let things like this diminish all the work that's been done. So if you're having problems, don't feel that you're going to get lumped into the category like this mass shooter in Maine. It's worth getting the help, and you're not going to get lumped in there because people with common sense know that that is most often not the case, and you need that help. So don't get discouraged. And this is also an instance, from what I've heard and what I've read, where doctors and the military seem to have failed this person. He actually had been evaluated. People knew that these things were happening. So not only does it add to the stigma, but we see how much more need there is for mental health care in this country. Now, I'm not going to sit here and blame individual doctors, but when this happens and people come out and say, well, he was hearing voices and everything else, and he had talked about attacking a military base, those are serious problems. And he had been to doctors to discuss it. He was in the Army Reserves, or one of the reserves, I can't remember, apologies for that. So the military also failed him in this situation. We need to do better about those things. That's why we talk about this. That's why we create awareness. And again, there are varying degrees of mental illness. It's all important, but there are varying degrees. And regardless of what kind of mental illness you're dealing with or your family and friends are dealing with, we need to work to remove that stigma. And we can't let these instances set us back. Like I said, all the years and years and years of getting rid of that stigma and talking openly, and people of note, famous people, professional athletes and stuff, that's something that never happened 30 years ago. And we cannot let this diminish it. There's also another one that I want to talk about, a very tragic incident that happened over the weekend in England. A former NHL player unfortunately passed away from an injury during a hockey game. And I want to bring this up during mental health because a lot of times there's footage out there. That's why I said it kind of at the top of this segment, turn off the news, because you can see there's so much violence coming out of Israel and Palestine right now that it can really affect you, even if you don't realize it's affecting you. And this is one of those instances where it's extremely tragic. But if you happen to be scrolling through social media, you might end up seeing this video, and the video is just utterly horrific. So I would caution everyone out there to be careful what you're viewing and what is posted, really any of those things. And I'll admit, I ended up catching part of the video, and it is horrific, and I could see it put me in a bad place for a little while. I could see it putting anybody in a bad place for a while, especially if you've ever played hockey, or people that played hockey or currently play it. It's terrifying. It really is, and it's one of those freak things. But know your limit, and know if it's something you should see or shouldn't see, and protect yourself, because this is not a video that needs to be seen by any means. You don't even need to read the story. It's very tragic. I think we need to recognize the person's life, obviously, but what are you going to do by reading articles and seeing a video? If it's going to put you in a bad place, don't do it. Just completely avoid it. That's what I would recommend. So be careful scrolling right now for that, and for obviously other things, because there's just so much violence in the world right now. And even that wasn't, it's violence, but I don't think anyone was planning for that to happen, obviously. We can argue about whether it was on purpose or whatever else, but obviously nobody's trying to have that happen during a hockey game. All right, let's move along. Please just take care of yourselves, for Pete's sake. Holidays, everything else. This is a tough time of year for people that deal with mental illness. All right, some positive news. This was very tough this week based on recent events. Everything is very much doom and gloom. I had to pull myself out of it today, honestly, and to even get in here and prep this show. And I was like, I don't know if we're going to do an episode this week. But it's like we've been doing Halloween episodes for so long. I don't know if we did one in 2016, but we have done one every year. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and now 23. So I wanted to get that in there. But there is some positive news that I was thinking of today. There's a court case being heard in Colorado, like right now. And it is a case, I'm sorry, I can't help but laugh, where Colorado is working to keep Trump's name off of the presidential ballot in the state of Colorado. And it has legal precedent. It's based on no, I'm not a lawyer. Nobody quote me on anything. But it's essentially saying that because he engaged in treason and election interference and everything else, that there is a basis to keep him off of the presidential ballot. So that, to me, that is extremely positive news, and especially because the little bit I have read is if this goes through in Colorado, there may be other states that follow, and then there's even less of a chance that the Orange Menace makes his way back into office. And for God's sake, I don't understand how anybody can still support this guy. Like, even his former friends are coming out and saying this guy can't be elected again. He's just going to come in with a vindictive attitude and just be even more unhinged than he was the first time around. So I'm hoping this becomes even more positive news, and he's actually off the ballot. But thankfully, there are people out there working to remedy this situation and using completely legal ways of doing it, unlike the orange one, who just tried to upend an election and install himself as a dictator. Like, Jesus Christ. Can you imagine that guy sets foot in the White House again? Good Lord. Not a good idea, people. All right, let's talk some parenting. I threw this into parenting, and I want to talk because every single year we talk about, and I wasn't about to write it all down, but every single year we talk about, where is it? No, why is this not here? Nope, there it is. The most popular candy and the most popular costume. So I want to talk about the most popular candy by state this year, and this, I think we use the same website every year. This is the Takeout. It's a website, and it's actually has a basis. It's based on candy sales in those individual states around the time of Halloween. So of course, we are going to talk about California because number one in California is M&Ms, and it's funny. I'm not a huge M&M guy, but then I get reminded that there are peanut butter M&Ms, and in fact, one of my friend's kids was eating peanut butter M&Ms at the park the other day, and I was like, those are the best M&Ms you can find. And he's like, yup. They definitely agreed with me. So here in California, we're all about the M&Ms, apparently. Although, for me, it's the undefeated champion of the world for me is absolutely Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, Reese's Pumpkin. Like, just give me the Reese's, the peanut butter. I don't care what form it's in. Chocolate and Reese's Peanut Butter, that's for me. Really... I don't know that I could ever live in Kentucky, but they do like the Reese's Cups down there. That is their number one. A couple weird ones. Apparently, and this isn't weird, but apparently in Alabama, Skittles are the most popular. And interestingly enough, you are not going to be able to buy Skittles in California soon because, and it's funny, we have international listeners. You can't get certain kinds of additives, and Skittles has one of those additives. In other countries. It's just the U.S. where we're like, fuck it, just let all the kids have all the chemicals they could possibly want. So Skittles, sorry, Alabama probably going to be far behind California on banning that, but maybe one day they will no longer be able to do it. And Georgia with Jolly Ranchers. As a kid, Jolly Ranchers was not the best candy to get, but I guess they really love the Jolly Ranchers down there. And I'm going to go ahead and look at my... See, that's the thing. I talk a lot of smack about Florida. Reese's Peanut Butter Cups in Florida. And the other, this one got me. And I'm going to have a talk with my wife about this so she can get her home state back in line. My wife is from Connecticut. And their number one Halloween candy is Almond Joy. I'm sure people like Almond Joy. But really, that's the most popular? I guess because it's a smaller state, maybe that's how they get away with that. But all kinds of great stuff out there. Of course, in New Mexico, the most popular is hot tamales. Shocking, I know. If you've never been to Mexico, they're all about like the chilies and that kind of stuff. So hot tamales fits right in there. And then in Washington, Tootsie Pops, which I used to love Tootsie Pops as a kid. We used to try and find the star and the native shooting a bow and arrow. And that was always the rumor. Oh, if you got the star, then that means a free Tootsie Pop. And never saw a free Tootsie Pop in my entire life. And somehow we saved those wrappers. But that is a tooth killer. Like, honestly, my teeth can't handle the Tootsie Pops. And that's probably why they're terrible, because I ate them as a kid, and now I'm paying for it as an adult. All right. And like I said, Reese's, man. That's the number one. That and Sour Patch Kids. I do love Sour Patch Kids. I just try to avoid them because they are really bad for the teeth. But, God, I love some Sour Patch Kids. All right, most popular costumes. Now, of course, number one, we knew this was coming months ago. Number one, and this is according to Billboard. So I will cite my source. Number one most popular Halloween costume for 2023 is Barbie. And of course, I'm sure Ken falls into that. I've seen on the socials because, Halloween is tomorrow. But of course, the weekend before Halloween is kind of like the official party time. That's when all the adults have parties and stuff. We went to a party on Saturday with the kid. We had kids and adults all having a Halloween party. So I've already seen these costumes popping up, of course. Princess is number 2, which is very generic. Spider-Man, number 3. I can attest to this because I actually know a lot of kids that are dressing up as Spider-Man. Number 4 is a witch. Now, of course, it's not adding sexy, but I imagine like witch and princess, they sexy everything. I feel like a few years ago there was like sexy traffic cone, and it's like, all right, we're just gonna sexify everything, which is fine. That's your prerogative. Number 5 is a fairy. Number 6, unsurprisingly, is Wednesday Addams. I've seen a couple of those already this year. Number 7 is a dinosaur. When I first saw this, I was a little bit confused, but then I looked at the article, and it's actually the blow-up dinosaur costume that has become quite popular. And in fact, if you follow the scene, the punk and ska, punk rock scene, you've probably seen a couple of these dinosaurs. And in fact, I not super well, but I know one of the people that has gone viral with the dinosaur costume in the pits, specifically at Riot Fest, among others. And they might be out at Punk in the Park this year. That's actually where we met finally face to face, was at Punk in the Park last year. Number 8, a cowboy. Throw on a cowboy hat, I guess. Number 9 is a ninja, which, okay. Number 10, a bunny. Number 11 is a rabbit. I have a funny story about this one because they're actually showing the Energizer bunny, which says rabbit, but you're showing the Energizer bunny. It's called a bunny. When I was in elementary school, I had a classmate. She swore, from when school started, I'm going to be the Energizer bunny for Halloween. And her poor mother sewed this entire thick, furry, pink bunny costume. She used the big drum that my elementary school had and walked around as the Energizer bunny. I think she lost like 5 pounds because it was not very cool, and was covered in fur at the time. Number 12 is a pirate. Number 13, Princess Peach. Of course, Mario's quite popular. Number 14 is a clown. I think a lot of y'all walking around out there like clowns already, so you're already set for Halloween. Number 15, a pumpkin. Number 16 is Batman. Number 17 is mermaid. And, of course, this might be because of the Little Mermaid movie. Number 18 is a cheerleader. Okay. Number 19 is a ghost. I actually thought about doing that on Saturday, but I was going to do the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown ghost where he's got too many holes cut in the sheet. But I think my wife would have been upset if I ruined a sheet. Number 20 is a bear. Calm down. Not that kind of bear, like a teddy bear. Calm down, you perverts out there. And, of course, that is your top 20 costumes for 2023, according to Billboard. I will be wearing my Animal Muppet hoodie, and I saw some great costumes. I said, I had some friends dressed up like Letterkenny. I'm surprised Ninja Turtles is not on here because I know multiple kids as well as families that are or were or both dressing up as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but apparently that did not make the cut. I actually tried to pick up a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle like hoodie or something, but like I said at the top of the episode, Target was completely sold out of adult costumes. But I did manage to get one for my dog. So he's going to be Michelangelo, which is actually going to be super cute because one of my kids' friends he's Leonardo. He's dressing up as a Ninja Turtle. And we're going trick-or-treating together. So I'm going to walk next to him with the dog. And he got, there's 2 of the Ninja Turtles. Maybe we'll find Raphael and Donatello somewhere and get some funny photos. All right. For those of you not aware, if you don't follow me on Facebook, you might not be aware of this. But in the interest of Halloween, I do have to admit, when I was a kid, my mother was a vice president at National Theme Productions. In the 80s, you might remember Halloween costumes were very high quality in the 80s. And so National Theme Productions would take over parts of department stores all around the country. This is why I often say I traveled so much as a kid, because I traveled with my mother as she's managing multiple cities and states and everything else around September, October. And because of that, they obviously had models for Halloween costumes. So if you don't follow me on Facebook, I'd suggest at least doing it for a little while so that you can see that I have no shame. And one of my most famous costumes that I modeled was of Pinocchio. In fact, National Theme Productions had the first official license with Disney, which is why I also spent a lot of time at Disney as a kid to make these costumes, and I became very well known as Pinocchio. And not only was I in like catalogs and stuff, this is before the internet, kids. You didn't post things on the internet. You had to look at catalogs. I actually have the costume insert. I was on the packaging for the costume way back in the 80s. I can't even remember. I was quite young. I'm trying to think. I might not even have lived in San Diego yet because I moved to San Diego when I was 7. I might have been even younger than 7. All right. These blue buckets, I want to talk about this for a minute. This comes up every year, and it seems so innocent. And if you're not aware of this, in fact, I educated a couple people on Sunday when we were carving pumpkins. The weekend was crazy. I was like, okay, we got this pumpkin, all kinds of stuff going on. And they're like, what's the deal with the blue buckets? And they thought it was just like a cool different color. I said, no, it's actually supposed to be for kids that are neurodivergent so that they don't have to say thank you, and maybe they're not going to be as active and animated with you and blah, 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 blah. I understand. That concept seems great and important, but here's the bottom line. They shouldn't have to. Just be an adult. If a kid comes and doesn't say thank you or they're not doing a little performance for you, give them the candy, move along. The kids aren't there to perform for you. You don't know their whole situation. And this goes this goes the same for like teenagers out trick-or-treating. Now, I understand, depending where you live, you might have teenagers that are out like, causing trouble. And I mean, today's October 30th. It's like a huge thing in New Jersey and elsewhere, but it's like mischief night or something. I get that. But sometimes, you can't put an age limit on trick-or-treating. So when it comes to the blue bucket, everything else, just give them the candy, move along. If they say thank you, that's great. But nobody's there for your entertainment. You're there to give kids candy, and that's what they're expecting on Halloween. So let's all do better. Because you don't know the full story about any kid coming to your door. And it's none of your fucking business. None of it. All right, free pumpkin event. We had this on Friday. Kids had a blast. And in fact, this started the candy gauntlet. My child is, I swear, she's just been on a constant sugar high since last week, Friday. So we go to this pumpkin event, and they're giving out free pumpkins. So, which was great. And the kids ran around the park. They're eating. And I'll tell you, one of the funniest things, and if you ever get this opportunity, when a little kid tries something super sour for the first time, just watching their face. And I had a couple of our friends' kids that had never had Warheads before. Sour Patch Kids are one thing, but Warheads are the like, holy shit, sour. It was quite comical. The only problem was our council person had put on this event, and as I've talked about in the past, my council person is the most infamous one right now around Southern California area, and that's Kevin De Leon. He's a racist. He's gotten into fights. I don't approve of him at all. He's actually going to run for re-election, and hopefully somebody will unseat him. But it was his event, and they had a photo opportunity, and we're standing in line to get a couple of free pumpkins, because who's going to pass up a couple free pumpkins? And then there's like the photo thing at the end. And so we're there with a bunch of, my kids' friends and our friends and stuff. So we're like, have the kids, we'll just get the pictures with the kids, and they'll sit there with the pumpkins on these hay bales and stuff. And I'm looking, there's a guy shooting pictures there who's obviously somehow associated with the event. And it was funny because I was like, okay, I don't want this guy taking pictures. And for God's sake, my kid is in music videos and stuff. She's very out in the public. It's not so much that. I just didn't want to be associated with Kevin De Leon. So we're kind of standing, and he wasn't really nearby and just kind of off to the side. And then as we're taking pictures, there's like 3 or 4 of us taking pictures on our phones, of the kids. Like right over my head, I hear the camera click, and I look, and he's clicking a couple. And nothing against him. He's probably just he's hired to shoot photos from this event. But I said to him, are those going to be used on any social platforms or anything? And he said, I don't think so. Another woman there, she could tell what I meant. And she goes, we'll just delete them. And I was like, if you could, that'd be great, please. I don't want my kids popping up on the socials. It's my friend's kids. And in the back of my head, I'm like, my kid's all over. Like I said, she's in freaking music videos and stuff and all that. So it's not, but I don't want any association with Kevin De Leon. But it was worth the free pumpkins. And it's so funny because we were educating a couple of other people that weren't familiar with the controversy and what he's gotten into and everything else. And one of them was like, is he here? And I was like, he knows better than to show up here. He's got people running around with his name on their shirts, but he's not showing up to that thing. And that's how he's gotten into these fights with people and everything, because they're protesting, rightfully so. I mean, the guy is on audio talking about how he doesn't like black people. Like it's there. There's evidence. It's astounding to me that he wasn't forced to resign and now running for re-election. Unbelievable. And speaking of sugar high, finding ways to limit candy. I don't know the answer to this. I've been trying to figure it out for a few years now. Not really since my kid's first Halloween, because you're not eating a lot of candy when you're like a year old. But the past like 4 Halloweens is just like, oh my. And what happens is we have a decent neighborhood for trick or treating. So we have kids, our friends, and their kids come over here. We hang out for a few, we eat some pizza, and then we all go trick or treating. And then what happens is we get back to the house, and holy shit, kids are just running laps around my house, around my yard. It's absolutely insane. So I don't have the answer to that, but I feel you, anyone out there who's a parent trying to keep the candy intake limited. I mean, on Friday, they gave the kids little bags, and there was candy in it, and kids were just going to different ends of the park, the playground there, and you could just see them sitting there, 5-10 pieces of candy over the course of 5 minutes, and it was quite ridiculous. But it's inevitable. It is inevitable. And then my child is going to be exhausted the next day going to school, but what are you going to do? All right, speed bumps. I railed a little bit about this with the LAUSD and the fact that they still have not given us crossing guards. I need to give a good on you to the city of Los Angeles. They have gradually been putting in more speed bumps around my neighborhood, and one of those went right in front of my kid's school. So it is forcing people to slow down because they really do tear through there like crazy. And I'm hoping it keeps cars from cutting through, because what happens is in our neighborhood, everyone likes to cut through. And everybody's lived in areas like this. And, oh, my God, with Waze nowadays, I'm sure people have it much worse than I do. But you get people not wanting to use the main road, and they're cutting through the neighborhood, and they speed like crazy. They run stop signs, everything else. So I'm hoping this cuts down greatly on that. And because it's like there's a main drag. Just take the main road. You don't need to be cutting through the neighborhood driving 50 miles an hour when there's kids around and there's schools and dogs and everything else. And people, like even adults get, I've been out running and and this isn't just a Los Angeles thing. I had the same thing when I lived in San Diego and in Long Beach. You go out running. I have had too many close calls with cars because people just don't pay attention. So you know what? Get out on the main road with the street lights. You're going to run the stop signs anyway. Stop cutting through the neighborhoods. All right. We're going to end a little early tonight, only because I am overheated, and this is our Halloween special. And we're just, that's just how it is. But still close to our normal time, I guess. Man, I got to drink that water, so I'm just dying. So I got a couple common sense things, then we got some entertainment news, and then we're going to wrap up episode 118. AI Disney posters. I know I've been complaining about AI, and since I started complaining about AI, I've actually found ways that I do like AI. There's certain things. For example, I was sorting through thousands of photos, and I had to pull certain photos, and I have found that with this, and I don't want to give away clients that I work with, but this particular client had everything stored in a place, but they actually had an AI search function. So I could put in a name and sort through these tens of thousands of photos and whittle it down, as opposed to scrolling through like, I need to find a couple of this particular person. So I'm not completely opposed to AI, but it's the AI art that's just getting creepy and annoying. And it's hit another level. This kind of goes hand in hand with parenting. People are using AI to make fake Disney posters, a lot of them looking like the Disney movie themes or the Pixar movie themes. And it's really creepy. Because we're not talking about just like silly things. We're talking about pornographic things. We're talking about inappropriate for children things. And while I realize children shouldn't really be on social media and stuff, eventually they're going to start seeing these posters and be extremely confused. So let's knock it off with that trend, because we don't need to be ruining kids' stuff. You're going to ruin adults, like that's fine, The other one is there's some Big Bird AI images out there, and I'm just like, I've seen a couple people post them, and I'm either like unfollow, unfriend, or block, because I like respect the bird, man. We're very Muppet centric here. Respect the bird. I don't want to see that kind of stuff with Big Bird. Leave kid stuff alone. You want to AI weird other things? That's fine. Leave the kid stuff alone, please. All right, another common sense thing here. Creed just announced today. Creed, yes, that Creed, the band. They're going to have a reunion tour next year. Honestly, I didn't even know they weren't together anymore. I haven't heard Creed in a very long time, probably not since I was doing things in a Catholic youth group, because it was one of the acceptable things, and that was so long ago when Creed was semi-popular. They've announced a reunion tour for next year. I don't know who the hell is asking for this, but apparently they're going to do it. And I will say, for those of you that aren't aware, that don't follow sports, I blame the Texas Rangers partly. because for some reason they decided to start playing Creed in their clubhouse. In baseball, you call it it's a locker room, but they call it the clubhouse in baseball. They're playing Creed. So, of course, Creed has come to the forefront. Thank you, Texas. Shocking, I know, but now we're going to have to be subjected to more Creed music, and they're going to be coming through our cities and such. I can assure you, if you like Creed, that's fine. I don't get it. I don't understand why anyone listens to Creed, but do you? Do what you got to do. That's fine. But I also just don't understand who's asking for this outside of the Texas Rangers who have decided that they want to use. And I feel like they were doing it ironically. And then now they caught fire, and Creed was probably like, "Oh, people like our music still," and I'm like, no, dude, no, please don't. That's enough. We're good. We all lived through the '90s. We're done with it. No more Creed. Thank you. Oh man. All right, I got a couple entertainment news things here, and then like I said, we gonna wrap it up. I gotta go finish cleaning my house. I got people coming over, and those of you parents out there know that when you have a child, your house is never truly clean, but I want it to be decent when we have guests coming over, you know. Anyway, Shoresy. This past Friday, October 27th, Shoresy came back. I wish it was longer. They only put out 6 episodes, and I don't know if there's another batch of episodes coming this year, but I do know it got renewed for season 3. And if you have not been watching Shoresy, start with Letterkenny. You got to start with Letterkenny, but Shoresy is just such a laugh out loud funny show. I'm just, constant laughing. Love the characters on it. I love the and especially I am very much a dialogue driven fan of things. That's why I'm a big Kevin Smith fan. Richard Linklater. These are very dialogue driven films, and that's how Shoresy is. It's very dialogue and character development and everything else. So I was very excited that that's back now. Although I just started watching it a couple days ago, and I've got like 1 episode left because it's just too quick. They're 30-minute episodes, and there's only 6 of them. It's like, please give me more Shoresy. The Drowns. They released a new single this past Friday, I think it was, and that's from their upcoming album, which comes out in January. I'm very excited about this. As you know, if you've ever listened, I am a huge fan of the Drowns. They're also, I consider them good friends. And in I'm blanking on it now. In 2021, if you remember, we do my personal top 10 albums of the year. We do for our holiday episode, and the Drowns album, Under Tension. It's funny. I remembered the album title, but I also have the sticker right here for that album. Under Tension was my absolute number 1 for 2020, and which is actually probably Drowns might take that title next year. They would not have taken it this year. For those of you that have been listening and know me well at all, you probably already know what my personal number 1 album of 2023 is going to be. So it won't fall into that. But check out their new single, Blacked Out. It is available on streaming platforms. You can download it. And they've done a bunch of posts with it. I believe it's up on YouTube, all that kind of stuff. Fantastic track. It's obviously the Drowns. They are so good. And if you're not listening to the Drowns, you are 100% missing out on a fantastic, fantastic band. And I think, they're coming to Southern California soon, but I think they're going to be in like Ventura or something. So I don't know that I'll actually catch them. All right. And last thing I'm going to leave you with this weekend. This is when it starts to get crazy. Punk in the Park is happening this weekend down there at Oak Canyon Park in Silverado, California, which is part of Orange County. 2 days, beer tasting, all kinds of bands. I mentioned Defiant on the last episode. I will be booing loudly, and I will be cheering. I will be booing Defiant loudly, and then right after that, I will be cheering We Are the Union very, very loudly. But outside of the fact that Defiant is playing, I am very much looking forward to 2 days of great music and great friends, and it's kind of like the regional punk rock bowling. Going to see people that come in from out of town, enjoy some great beer and all that good stuff. And then, so if you're going to Punk in the Park, keep an eye out for me. I'll have stickers. I'll throw some stickers your way. I'll be running around there. You can usually find me. You can find me running around everywhere and at the stages. But if I'm stationary, I'm usually near the Punk Rock Saves Lives booth or the Cali Vibes Records booth. So those are kind of easy ways to find me. And if you say what's up to someone at that booth, like, have you seen Sean? They'll be like, oh yeah, he was just here. He's heading to blah, 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 and so that's kind of an easy way to find me. And then additionally, Friday in Fullerton, one of my other favorite bands, Chaser, is playing a show with the Deviates, and they are playing at the Continental. I think it's the Continental or the Continental Room there in Fullerton. And because I just like to abuse my body and make myself as tired as possible, I'll be hitting that one the night before the actual start of Punk in the Park. So if you're going to be in the Fullerton area or you're a Chaser fan, as you should be, hit me up at that show. I'll have some stickers as well, and I can throw those your way. All right. I am still overheated despite the fact that my hood has come off. Again, if you only listen to the audio and don't watch the video, just go check out the first few minutes of the video feed, which goes up on Facebook and YouTube, and you can see my ridiculous custom hoodie. You cannot buy this hoodie. I get the question every year. They're like, oh, where'd you get that? And I was like, my mother is very good at sewing and made this for me. So you can't buy it, but I have one. It's just how I roll. I am Magical Muppet in the burn community, so gotta have the hoodie to match. And I have like a Muppet, like a whole Muppet thing over here. I'm gonna say Muppet altar. That sounds weird. No, it's just like a Muppet section of the studio with all kinds of Muppet stuff here, and then Muppet stuff behind me. And on the video, you can kind of see part of it. It's just the way the camera is. You can't see a ton of it. All right. Before I go, I want to say have a happy Halloween. Have a safe Halloween. Don't drink too much. Don't eat too much. Check your kids' candy for Pete's sake. And just a reminder, nobody's giving your kids free drugs like the edibles that you would get at a dispensary, but you should still check their candy just to be safe. So make sure you have a very, very happy and safe Halloween. As I said, schedule for November is all over the place. There will 100% be an episode the night before Thanksgiving. That's kind of another traditional. It's not even a Thanksgiving episode. That's just a day we've done it because originally we were on Thursdays. And then because we weren't going to record on Thanksgiving, we started doing that Wednesday, and I feel like we've been doing that every year. But outside of that, we will have a couple episodes. They're just definitely not they're most likely not going to be on Sundays, just because all of this I will be running around Oak Canyon Park this Sunday. So I won't be able. So to make sure you're checking the socials for when those episodes will be coming, because our schedule is just going to be a bit off for the month of November. Birthdays, Thanksgiving, Punk in the Park. Conferences, all kinds of other stuff. So just keep yourself informed on that. And you can do that on Facebook.com/Go Tell It to the Wall. That's our official Facebook page. Don't forget YouTube. That's where you can go check out the video if you want to see my ridiculous hoodie and you don't usually check out the videos. YouTube.com/Go Tell It to the Wall or at Go Tell It to the Wall. And don't forget to follow my personal Instagram account, which is at SoCalSean, SoCalSean, at SoCalSean. And make sure you bookmark SeanO'RourkeLive.com, where you'll find links to all those things, exclusive content that doesn't get posted anywhere else, as well as links to our Patreon campaign and our merch website if you want to help us out financially. Those are both great ways to do so and keep this all running and moving and pay my air conditioning bill for when I decide to put on a ridiculous hoodie when it's definitely too warm for a ridiculous hoodie over my head. All right. On that note, wall fans, Common Sensors podcast consumers, this has been episode 118 of Common Sense Sundays with Go Tell It to the Wall, hosted by me, your absolute favorite podcast host. And until next time, remember, no matter what you do, no matter who you're with, no matter where you're going, especially no matter why you aren't doing it, always, always use common sense.